crypto still has I think, future adoption curve that's higher than gold because more people own gold than own crypto. But the path to getting that adoption rate higher is going to be very jagged. And I think 2026 will be a really important test because if Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, we know that deleveraging event is behind us.
And your price target for Bitcoin this year is 250,000.
Yeah, so we think Bitcoin will make a new high this year. Ethereum's price ratio to Bitcoin is still below where it was in 2021, 4 years ago. And that, compared to 4 years ago, Ethereum is a far superior blockchain because we know tokenization, including dollars are tokenized, is one of the big bets Wall Street's making. I mean, Larry Fink says it's the biggest innovation since double ledger accounting. Vlad at Robinhood wants to tokenize everything. And we already see a lot of effort to tokenize not just dollars, which is stable coins, but credit funds. JP Morgan is launching on Ethereum a money market fund. BlackRock has already tokenized credit funds on Ethereum. So Ethereum is really the blockchain that Wall Street is beginning to use. If Ethereum's price ratio recovers to the 2021 highs and Bitcoin goes to 250, Ethereum would be around 12,000. And Ethereum's around 3. That's right. Every pullback has been a great opportunity. Last year, the tariff-related drawdown was on April 7th, turned out to be one of the best entry points in the last 5 years for anyone buying stocks. There were so many stocks that made new all-time highs, but really explosive rallies. So I think this year, if what we think happens, it's going to be a great buying opportunity. I think the most important advice I can give people is that trying to time the market makes you an enemy of your future performance. Because a lot of investors always only want to buy at the bottom and they want to sell at the top. But when we look at the stock market, and actually in crypto too, the only people who really make money are those who are investing for the long term. So as much as I'm warning about 2026 and the possibility of a lot of turbulence, they should view the pullback as a chance to buy, not the pullback as a chance to sell and to avoid stocks. I think it's a really important distinction because too many people sell on emotion and then they don't make the second decision to buy back. And then they miss out on all the compounding investing delivers.
Tom Lee highlights how Bitcoin and Ethereum were tracking gold's strength until October 10th. Bitcoin up 36%, Ethereum up 45%, only for the largest deleveraging event in crypto history to wipe out market makers and trigger a 35 to 50% collapse. This wasn't random. Market makers function as crypto's internal central bank. When half got margin called, liquidity evaporated and prices overshot lower. That single event decoupled crypto from broader hard asset momentum. Periodic deleveragings remain the tax on immature infrastructure, yet Lee sees this as temporary. The path to higher adoption stays jagged precisely because institutional support is still building, not complete. The tension now centers on resolution. A new all-time high in Bitcoin this year would confirm the deleveraging cycle is behind us. Until then, volatility persists. Investors waiting for perfect clarity risk missing the structural recovery already forming beneath the surface. More people own gold than crypto today. That gap defines the opportunity. Lee sets a $250,000 price target for Bitcoin this year, implying a fresh all-time high. The drivers are straightforward: rising usefulness through blockchain settlement, bank embrace of efficiency, and native crypto institutions like Tether scaling profitably. Tether alone is on track for nearly $20 billion in earnings with a fraction of traditional bank overhead. These feedback loops accelerate as younger digital natives treat crypto as infrastructure rather than speculation. The Lindy effect favors survivors. Bitcoin and Ethereum have proven staying power. What most miss is the convergence. Macro uncertainty, central bank easing, and generational shifts hit simultaneously. By the time mainstream consensus fully prices this adoption, the bulk of the move from current levels will already be complete. The 2026 pullback Lee anticipates becomes a long-term entry, not a wanting to exit. Ethereum trades as a ratio to Bitcoin. That ratio remains below 2021 levels, even as the network has evolved into Wall Street's preferred settlement and tokenization layer. Larry Fink calls tokenization the biggest innovation since double entry accounting. BlackRock and JP Morgan are already active on Ethereum. This is no longer experimental. Tokenized dollars, credit funds, and money market products run natively here. If Bitcoin reaches $250,000 and Ethereum's ratio simply recovers to prior highs, Ether could trade near $12,000 from roughly $1,600 today. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Make sure to check out our other videos on the crypto market and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Yes, that's right. I think when we look back at the end of this year, I think 2026 will look like a continuation of the bull market that started in 2022, but and really a period when economic resilience is much more visible. But at the same time, there's two, I think, substantial transitions that the market has to grapple with. Maybe three. One is, of course, a new Fed, and the market always tests a new Fed, and that process of identifying and then confirmation plus the market test can create a correction. And I think that in 2026, our view is that the White House is going to be more deliberate in picking winners and losers. In 2025, that caused a lot of disruption for technology, IT consulting, and for healthcare. And this year, there's a lot more industries and sectors and even countries in the bullseye. And I think that creates uncertainty. You can tell by gold's rally. And so I think those two factors can cause a drawdown in 2026.
Those two factors, you said maybe a third.
Yeah. So the third is that the market is still trying to understand how much is priced into AI. And so our view is still a strong narrative. But as you know, there's questions about the longevity, how much energy we really need, data center capacity. And so until the market is comfortable that there's other stronger narratives, which I think there's plenty, like the ISM is turning up. I think housing could recover as rates are cut. But that transition, again, would cause uncertainty. So I'm guessing that the three collectively could cause a drawdown that feels like a bear market.
So implicit in that is what, like a 20% peak to trough pullback or more or less?
Yeah, it could be 10. I mean, if it's 10, by the way, it's going to feel like a bear market. But it could be 15, it could be 20. But something that maybe brings us to a round trip from the start of the year, because we've started off strong. Maybe we'll be down year to date at some point, but then I think we really finish the year strong.
Good.
I think there's a time-based answer. So crypto was outperforming and keeping up with gold until October 10th. And on October, Bitcoin, for instance, was up 36% and Ethereum was up 45%. So Ethereum was outperforming silver. But on October 10th was the single largest deleveraging event in the history of crypto, bigger than what happened in November 2022 around FTX. And after that, Bitcoin lost more than 35% of its value and Ethereum fell almost 50%. So I think crypto lost its tracking to gold because of deleveraging within crypto. Crypto has periodic deleveraging events. It really impairs the market makers, and the market makers are essentially the central bank of crypto. So many of the market makers, I would say maybe half got wiped out on October 10th. So until we get to the day where crypto is widely mainstream supported by institutional investors, the internal deleveraging events kind of knock it out of the sky. Bitcoin is digital gold, but the universe of people that believe that thesis is not the same universe that owns gold. And so crypto still has I think, future adoption curve that's higher than gold because more people own gold than own crypto. But the path to getting that adoption rate higher is going to be very jagged. And I think 2026 will be a really important test because if Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, we know that deleveraging event is behind us.
And your price target for Bitcoin this year is 250,000.
Yeah, so we think Bitcoin will make a new high this year.
And that's driven by what?
Well, it's driven by, I think, the usefulness of crypto increasing. So We know banks, for instance, are recognizing blockchain, and the idea of settlement and finality work really well on blockchain. Um, and then a company like Tether, which is a crypto-based bank,
Mm-hmm.
is proving that a bank that emerges natively on blockchain is actually better than a traditional bank. For instance, Tether is expected to make almost $20 billion in 2026 earnings. That would make it a top 5 in terms of bank profits. They, on valuation, might be number 2 only to JP Morgan, twice the valuation of Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley. Tether only has 300 full-time employees. JP Morgan has 300,000. So by using blockchain, they make almost as much, well, they make more money than any bank, and they only have less than 1% of the M1 money supply and a tiny balance sheet, and yet it's one of the most profitable banks in the world.
Trying to buy the exact bottom and sell the exact top turns investors into enemies of their own performance. Lee's record shows the only consistent winners stay invested through turbulence. The 2026 drawdown, potentially 10–20%, will feel severe, yet every prior pullback proved a superior entry. This applies directly to crypto. View corrections as opportunities to add to Bitcoin and Ethereum, the proven survivors with Lindy credibility. Let's get back to the rest of the interview.
I think that most people on Wall Street aren't aware of the reach of Mr. Beast for several reasons. One, it's a privately held company, so you have to look at media metrics to understand his reach. Two is that his demographic is he's iconic among Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and millennials.
What are some of the numbers? Just remind us.
He has over 1 billion followers today. So the only person with more followers across TikTok, Instagram, Meta, I mean, you name it, is Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes, Cristiano Ronaldo. His YouTube videos today in hours monthly viewed exceed that of Disney and Netflix. Every one of his Mr. Beast YouTube episodes is watched by over 250 million viewers monthly, and he releases it twice a month. That is more viewership than the Super Bowl. So he is releasing the equivalent of 2 Super Bowls of viewership every month. And Beast Games, which was launched on Amazon Prime, is the number one show in Amazon, and again, more widely watched than almost any other movie.
So I mean, I've been blown away by those numbers. You emailed them to me in advance of this. Truly astonishing reach. But then why isn't this an investment that's being made by Disney or Amazon Prime or Comcast or Netflix? Why is it being made by an Ethereum treasury company?
They are very selective on who is on their cap table. So Mr. Beast is himself, Jimmy Donaldson is the largest shareholder. And then there is folks like Chamath of Social Capital. And BitMine will be the largest corporate investor in their balance sheet. They have received overtures, as you can imagine, from a lot of people who want to invest into Beast Industries. We were very fortunate to be invited to actually be in their capital structure. Yes, the CEO, Jeff Hausenbold, had mentioned that there's a future Beast Financial Services. And I think that Beast is going to probably provide full details in coming weeks around that. But I think it is something that they've talked about, that Beast Industries, they've been very smart. They've productized Mr. Beast in many ways. You know, there's the Feastables, chocolates, and they have like healthy lunch. They've done drinks and beverages. They've done collaborations with other creators. And so it makes sense then to say, well, you know, if you have 1 billion followers, how do you productize the business further?
And so would you argue, I'm sure you would, this is bullish for Ethereum with 1 billion followers?
Yes.
As in, will he be, is it reasonable to expect he'll be pushing Ethereum down the line?
Well, I'd say to me, there's some things that make a lot of sense. I think today there is a huge vacuum on financial literacy among most Americans, globally, actually, most young people, because it's not really taught in school.
I agree with that.
But we know financial literacy is critical because even today we know that a lot of baby boomers and Gen X are retiring without sufficient savings, and we can't count on things like Social Security. So financial education is one of the biggest vacuums out there. Well, it's a natural that Mr. Beast could be one of the people leading financial education, which is a huge societal benefit. I mean, that's one of the reasons we were really interested in investing in Beast Industries is our corporate and social values are aligned. You know, he really represents decency and kindness. And then in terms of the future of finance, it's very obvious today that banks are saying blockchains are the future of finance. I mean, J.P. Morgan wants to build on the blockchain. Jamie Dimon said it's a better way to build a bank. And Ethereum is where all the banks today are actually choosing to build smart contracts. So it makes sense then if there's financial education for the public, it should include Ethereum to an extent. Well, I would say for someone who hasn't walked through our rationale, it seems totally risky. It makes sense. Bitmine had from day zero said that about 5% of its balance sheet would be allocated to moonshots. And so with today's balance sheet, that would be about $700 million of investments. And so far, about 220 has been invested into moonshots. I think Beast Industries as an investment is going to be very profitable because this is getting you exposure to the biggest content creator in the world, you know, maybe in our generation. So your father was like the Mr. Beast of his generation, and there hasn't been anyone since. And I don't know if there's going to be anyone after him. As a treasury company, our goal is to not only strengthen the Ethereum ecosystem, but really ensure its future viability, but by securing a potential organic collaboration with Mr. Beast, I think it's going to strengthen the future of Ethereum. So I think it was a good strategic move as well. I believe many listeners are skeptical of crypto and might even have zero exposure and say that they don't really understand it. One of the things that we have to appreciate is that crypto is being adopted by the younger generations. I mean, it is a part of their lives because they are digital natives, and there is really a blurring between what's a service and what's money in the future. It's no different than in 1995 when Bill Gates was on Letterman talking about the internet. David Letterman expressed enormous skepticism of like what the internet was because he was the wrong generation to adopt the internet. If Bill Gates was explaining that to a 20-year-old instantly understood the future of the internet. And I think that's what's happening
The
with crypto
systemic
today.
shift is generational. Long-term holders who treat pullbacks as accumulation points rather than signals to sell capture the compounding Lee emphasizes across both equities and crypto. The convergence of forces, policy transitions, AI blockchain synergies, and institutional infrastructure creates asymmetric upside. By the time the path looks smooth and obvious, the risk-reward will have shifted. Position with conviction now. The window narrows as adoption accelerates. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for watching, and keep stacking.